Good evening and welcome to the November 17th, 2022 Northampton County Council meeting. Mr. Giovanni will lead us in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Ms. Zemba. Will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Brown.
Here.
Mr. Kuzic.
Present.
Mr. Giovanni.
Here.
Mr. Gofredo.
Here.
Mr. Heckman.
Here.
Mr. Lott.
Here.
Mr. Myers.
Here.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Here.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the minutes of November 3rd, 2022, and the budget hearing minutes for October 26th, 2022, November 2nd, and November 9th.
Motion.
There you go.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. There is no one that signed up for courtesy of the floor. Is anybody who wished to speak? Hearing and seeing none. Mr. McClure, do you have a report this evening?
I do, Madam President. Thank you very much. Northampton County is getting in the habit of putting on fair, legal, and accurate elections, and we just had another one. You may not have read or seen anything on TV about our election because we had such a good election. And ever since Mr. Dertinger came back from the farm show with voting machines, I've been very hard on him with respect to what occurred in that first election we had with our partner ES&S, and to the point where I had front page of the Morning Call sitting on the corner of my desk, which said these machines are garbage, and he had to pass it every time he walked into my room. And what Mr. Dertinger has done since since ES&S did that to him and us has just been amazing. He is dogged, he is tireless, and I can't congratulate Charles Dertinger enough for all of the excellent work that he has done on elections in Northampton County, and I personally and wholeheartedly thank him. I'd also like to thank Ricky Santee. He is the solicitor for the Elections Commission, and he is also the solicitor who advises our elections division. Ricky is a genius. We're lucky to have him. It's an accident that we do, and he's probably becoming one of the finest solicitors with respect to election law in the whole Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and he's just fantastic, and I thank him very much. He's probably home playing with his kids and doesn't know I'm talking about him like this. But we have 750-ish judges of elections and poll workers who were all over Northampton County on Election Day, making sure that the people who wanted to vote in person could vote in person, and they did a terrific job, and they have my undying gratitude for having a no-drama election in one that was very interesting to people. Lots of people showed up. I think we may have set a gubernatorial cycle record for turnout. I'm not sure. I have to check that out, but they did a tremendous job, so thank you to them. Thank you to our deputy sheriffs who were deputized as election workers, who picked up our ballots and who did those things at the drop boxes. Thank you to our O&M folks who went above and beyond, once again, making sure our machines got delivered and picked up, and they just did a terrific job. But I really want to specifically thank and recognize the folks who do the work, not just during the two silly periods of the year, primary and general election, but who do the quiet work all year long to make sure we can have fair, legal, and accurate elections. And they're all here tonight, and I'd like to recognize them. Our registrar, Chris Comenini, is here. Hi, Chris, stand up, wave. Chris, this was his first election. He survived. I had some folks from the parties approach me and talk about what a great job they think Chris did through this process. So, Chris, we'll keep you. Sean McDougall is here. Sean is our elections technology specialist. Sean, you did a great job, and council should know that. And Jenna Gerbino is here. Jenna is our elections technology specialist. Jenna always does a great job. Jenna, They can't see you, Jenna. They're all hiding back there. I mean, I'm so proud and happy that they've done such a wonderful job. Josh Bikini, our elections technician. Josh, say hi. Christine Rush, elections technician. Larkin Oliver, elections technician. Amber Moyer, elections technician. These folks have all just done such a great job, and we're just so proud of them. And this is the bedrock of democracy in Northampton County. And finally, in elections in Northampton County, there is an indispensable Amy, and it's Amy Hess, our deputy registrar. Amy knows how to put on an election. And I can say that because her immediate supervisor, Charles Derdinger, told me that Amy just simply knows how to put on an election. And we are so fortunate that we still have her. She hasn't left us yet. She hasn't retired yet. And we hope she doesn't for many more years. And I think Chris probably hopes she doesn't retire for a few more years either. I know Charles hopes that. And finally, I'm doing this tonight, one, because I want to emphasize how well this election went. But two, I don't get to thank these folks enough because I don't go in there unless I'm voting. I don't go into that office unless I'm voting or I have to file my paperwork because I am a partisan figure, although I'm ultimately responsible for that office. I just don't go in there so we don't create any appearances. And I just wanted them to know how much I appreciated all their efforts. So you guys can go home now.
I think you should wait in case council wants to say anything too.
Oh, they'll want to run right out the door. Does anybody have any questions for them before they run out the door?
Maybe just some comments.
Okay.
I'll start. I just want to say thank you to all of you. Whenever we have to go down or ask questions, you're always smiling and pleasant to us, even though maybe, you know, people aren't always to you. And I appreciate every single one of you and all the efforts that you've put in, and ditto what Mr. McClure said. I know that we don't always get to see you, and most of us, unless we're running, and then when we are too much, you see us. But just thank you. Just know that your work is not gone unnoticed. And I know the past few years have been less than savory times for those of you that are there. I don't know if you still have the wall of shame down there, if you took it down, but we appreciate you, and don't believe a bad word anybody says about you, because it's just not true. So thank you for everything you do.
Thank you.
Okay, now you can go. Thanks, guys.
You're not buying a pizza.
So lots of talk in Northampton County about salaries, wages, Graysdale. So I've got some salaries, wages, Graysdale news. We have reached a tentative agreement with the residual AFSCME unit, which is our largest single collective bargaining unit in Northampton County, the court-related non-professionals, and the court-related, and another court-related non-professional unit. These are part of our 10 collective bargaining units that we have in Northampton County. 8, if they ratify this agreement, hopefully we'll have it to you by the end of the year. It's going to be tight. That'll be 8 of the 10 units that are under contract, which was the vast majority of our unionized workforce, which is 66.7% of our workforce. Graysdale. So, who remembers our talk about FMLA at Graysdale? We talked a lot about it, and we talked a lot about it in terms of PPD. So I wanted to go through the recent PPD with you. On 11/4, it was 3.41. On 11/5, it's 3.43. 11/6, it was 3.36. 11/7, it was 3.42. 11/8, it was 3.75, 11/9, 3.64, and 11/10, 3.88, a really good PPD. And I don't think it's a coincidence that I'll just pick a couple of months here, and I could share this with you so you can see I'm not cherry picking. In August of 2021, we had about 36% of the workforce during the month out on FMLA or IFMLA. In August of 2022, that dropped to 23%. In September of 2021, that number was about 32%. In September of 2022, it dropped to 18%. In October of 2021, it was 28%. In October of 2022, 10%. November of 2021, 31%. November of 2022, 10%. The changes that we've made with respect to FMLA have just been extraordinarily successful and lawful, which was important to us. And I want to give credit to the Graysdale administration. I want to give credit to Human Resources, and I want to give credit to the employees of Graysdale who are working with us to get that number down so we could get that PPD number up. Because as you know, getting that PPD number up makes people safer, and it also allows us to increase our census a little bit. So I was very happy to be able to deliver those two big pieces of news. And finally, Council passed ordinances directing the administration to draft and issue requests for proposals for a pay study and for Graysdale. That work is done. Those proposals today went up on public purchase, and they will be on the website for everyone to review tomorrow. So we're moving forward with respect to the dictates of the ordinances as duly passed by County Council. That concludes my report.
Are there any questions for Mr. McClure? I have one.
Sure.
We had a meeting prior that we were not informed that these went up on public purchase board today. And we may need to have some parts of it amended. Is that still possible?
It is not. So under Article 13, what you would need to do then, once the process plays itself out, as dictated by the Home Rule Charter and Article 13 of the Administrative Code, if the responses that you get that are ultimately selected you didn't like, you could reject and go through the process again.
I guess I'm just concerned because we were supposed to review them, and I made that clear to council that we would review them, so no one communicated to us that you were pushing it forward.
So we followed the dictates of the ordinances that were duly passed and are moving forward with them, as is our responsibility under the Home Rule Charter and the Administrative Code.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I understand that it's nuanced, but thank you. Any other questions or concerns for Mr. McClure? Okay. Moving on to old business. First, we have a public hearing of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance amending the 2022 Northampton County budget. Solicitor, Department of Community and Economic Development, Gaming and Hotel Tax, Community Development Grant, Pass-Through Grant, Department of Administration, Elections, Hazmat Act 165, Department of Fiscal Affairs, Balancing of the Budget, Coroner, Department of Public Works, P3 Bridges, Act 13, Department of Human Services, Veterans Affairs, Development Fund, Grants, Children and Youth and Families, Area Agency on Aging, Health Choices, Mental Health, Developmental Programs, Early Intervention, Drug and Alcohol Opioid Settlement. Mr. Myers and Ms. Zirinsky introduced this ordinance on November 3rd, 2022. After the ordinance was introduced, the office received notice that a Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency Treatment Continuum Alternatives to Prison grant for the Problem-Solving Court should have been included. Will someone make a motion to amend this ordinance to include this grant?
I will.
I'll second.
Could we please have a vote on the amendment? Oh, discussion on the amendment? Hearing no discussion, can we call for the vote?
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky?
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Gofredo?
Yes.
Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Mr. Lott?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic?
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9 to 0.
Thank you. Next, are there any questions or comments from the public on the amended ordinance? Is there any discussion from council?
Yeah, I just had a question maybe for Mr. Barron. There's a significant increase in the gaming monies. Could you tell us why that is? Are more people gambling at the Sands? What's going on?
So, no, there is actually, and this is why it is an amendment to the budget. There was a true-up that was done with the Commonwealth. So when that
What's a
money,
true-up?
so it's, there is a special factor that is built into the gaming law that they actually give us a portion of the money that was held back, or for corrective purposes in their calculations. So when that number was given to us, we have no idea what it is. It usually happens every 2 to 3 years, and this is one of those years. So that's why that gaming money is coming in. We had no idea it was coming in based on the projections, and that's why we had to amend for it.
Wow. Are there plans to spend it then?
So so the money will be programmed for 2023 because I believe that is slots money, if I'm not mistaken. And that is, now that we are ahead of the game, that money is actually programmed after the fact. So you will have plans in the future, and you will probably be on committees to discuss how to spend that money. Or
so
members of council will be on
So
committees.
it's not in the 23 budget that we?
No, we had, when we were looking at 2022 programming for 2023, we had no idea. But I know there will be committees in 2023 that will be formed, and council members will be on them, and I'm sure it will be discussed.
Okay, thank you for clearing that up.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion? Call for the vote.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky?
Yes.
Mr. Gofredo?
Yes.
Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Mr. Lot?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic?
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni?
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. Now, can we have a vote on the amended ordinance?
That's what we just did.
Oh, well then why do I have that down here?
I don't know.
Are we good? Are we
Yeah,
official?
good.
Okay. Is there any other old business to discuss?
We're on to new business.
Next, under new business, we have the introduction of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance Providing for the Real Estate Tax Millage in the County of Northampton for the Year 2023." Would someone sponsor the ordinance?
I will.
I'll second.
Indicate that the public hearing, debate, and possible vote will be held at the December 1st, 2022 meeting. Next, we have the introduction of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the County Council of Northampton County authorizing the conveyance of .0985 acres by the County of Northampton for the return of .0986 acres of real property as part of the Norbath Trail." Will someone sponsor this
I'll
ordinance?
sponsor that.
Public hearing, debate, and possible vote will be on December 1st, 2022 meeting. Next, we have the introduction of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance Regarding an Employee Health Center Funded by Spending from the 2023 Proposed and Adopted Budget." Will someone sponsor this ordinance? I will. Any second sponsor? Public hearing, debate, and possible vote will be held on December 1st, 2022. Consideration of the county executive's appointments, reappointments, resolution, Farmland Preservation Board, General Purpose Authority, Housing Authority, Lehigh Valley Planning Commission. Mr. Heckman, will you introduce the resolution?
Certain. Let's get it here. Resolved by the Northampton County Council that the following individuals shall be confirmed in their appointments, reappointments as indicated hereafter. Farmland Preservation Board, appointment, Dr. Christopher Amato, Walnutport, PA, term to expire 6/30/25. General Purpose Authority, reappointment, Paul Anthony Jr., Bethlehem, PA, term to expire 12/31/27. The Housing Authority Board, reappointment, Michelle Roy, Easton, PA, term to expire 2/9/28. Lehigh Valley Planning Commission appointments, elected officials, Jan Beatty, Bethlehem, PA, 12/31/23, Rachel Leone, Bethlehem, PA, 12/31/23, and reappointment of Daniel Engel, Rosetto, 12/31/23. That's it.
Thank you. Any discussion? These were reviewed yesterday at the personnel meeting. Call for the vote.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Lot.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni.
Yes.
Mr. Gofredo.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Next, we have the consideration of a personnel request for the Department of Court Administration resolution. Mr. Heckman.
It is hereby resolved by the Northampton County Council that 20 part-time positions of youth care workers, pay grade YC 181A, salary $17,122, combined salary $342,430, be created in the Department of Court Administration, Juvenile Justice Center, effective February 18th, 2022. So moved.
Thank you. Is there any discussion regarding this matter?
Just one. I apologize, I was not here for the meeting yesterday. It was issue in life got in the way. And sometimes that happens. I just want to apologize.
I know, it happens.
Anything else? Call for the vote.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Lot.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Brown. Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni.
Yes.
Mr. Gofredo. Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. Next, we have consideration of withdrawal of livable landscape grant for Hans Meadow Park Development Phase 1 resolution. Ms. Zirinsky, will you introduce this resolution?
Sure will. I'm getting there. I'm just reading the rest of it. Now therefore be it resolved by the Northampton County Council, 1, the Northampton County Council hereby accepts the township's withdrawal of the Hans Meadow Park Development Phase 1 grant awarded in resolution number 52-2021 and the executed grant agreement. Further, the Northampton County Executive, through the Office of the Program Administrator of the Northampton County Livable Landscapes Program or designee, is authorized to take any and all steps necessary to administer and complete Northampton County's obligations in this project. 2, the Northampton County Council further authorizes the Northampton County Executive to unencumber the $47,118.37 and place it back into the appropriate fund of the Livable Landscapes Grant Program, OSI Municipal Park Funds, from which it was allocated. Thank you.
Is there any discussion on this project or this resolution?
We briefly discussed this in the EELU meeting.
Call for the vote.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Mr. Brown. Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni.
Yes.
Mr. Gofredo.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Lot. Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Next, we have consideration of Administrative Code Article 13 contracts, resolutions, Billetier Electric, Wilmer R. Schultz, and PennDOT. Mr. Cusick, will you do the first?
Yes, Madam President, whereas on May 19th, 2022, Northampton County Council adopted resolution number 62-2022 endorsing a contract with Billetier Electric for electrical construction of a boiler blow-down rerouting project in the amount of $29,712. And whereas on November 2nd, 2022, the Northampton County Council received a request from the county executive for county council to adopt a resolution increasing the contract amount by $5,112.79 for a total amount of $34,824.79. Now therefore be it resolved that the Northampton County Council does hereby concur with the recommendation of the county executive as set forth in the attached documentation to approve the additional contract amount as indicated.
Thank you. Any discussion regarding this resolution?
Question.
Yes, sir.
Why was it increased 5,000?
Mr. Amelia, I believe, discussed that yesterday.
The increase is to install a step-up transformer that's necessary to be compatible for the inline pump.
Now I remember. Okay, thanks.
Any other discussion? Call for the vote.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Brown. Mr. Giovanni.
Yes.
Mr. Gofredo.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Lot.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. Mr. Brown, will you introduce the next resolution?
Whereas Northampton County Administrator Code Article 13, determine disposition of county property, Section 13.15, contracts and agreements. C2 requires approval of county council for any contract where costs are to be funded with monies outside of the county's general fund, such as those funded through bonded indebtedness. And whereas on November 4th, 2022, the Northampton County Council received a request from the county executive for county council to adopt a resolution approving a contract in the amount of $383,454 with Wilmer Schultz for general electrical construction on the Mincy Lake Park Rehab Project. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Northampton County Council does hereby concur with the recommendation of the county executive as set forth in the attached document to approve the contract amount as indicated.
Thank you. Any discussion regarding this resolution?
Just briefly, as I had said yesterday, I'm troubled by the fact that we only received one bid on this project, and I'm not sure what the problem is, but again, there's nothing to compare it to. We really don't have a competitive bidding process when it came to this contract. So I do support the project. I think it's worthy. I believe this contractor is able to do the job and qualified. But to me, the lack of competitive bids to assess at this time, I'll be voting against it.
Mr. Gofredo?
To reiterate Mr. Cusick's point, I too not only am alarmed, but I'm starting to get troubled by the fact that we aren't doing anything about the number of bids that come in with one bid only. I'm sure Mr. Schultz is a reputable organization. However, people make mistakes all the time, and those mistakes can end up costing taxpayers money. Without comparisons, we have no idea if these are valid amounts. I'll also not be supporting the resolution.
Any other discussion? You're hovering like you'd like to be recognized.
After last night's comments, and I'm sorry I wasn't here last night, I did look further into this. This is, the electrical portion of this is a very small portion, which is why we had a hard time getting anyone to look at this as an independent or a separate electrical contractor, because the price of the electrical work on it is only $10,000, and getting someone to go through the work of bonding and following all of the usual and required articles under Article 13, it's just not worth the money. If you look at what the possible profit would be on something like that, it's significantly more work than it should be. The other portion of this is we are talking about paths and paving and some very small grading. The vast majority of this work is based on materials. It's not really labor. There's, again, an area for which you have a very low threshold for a profitability or a value for someone to come look at and bid. So that becomes a little bit more the problem, that this is a very material intensive project, not something that you have an option to or an opportunity to make profits from.
Mr. Dertinger, thank you.
Yes.
I'll agree with you 100% on the electrical construction side. It is very intensive to submit a bid for a government project, the documentation and the work that goes in, and then there's always a chance you don't get the job. So I understand that. But as far as the site work, $375,000 is not chump change. And regardless of where that money is allotted, in site construction, materials is dirt. And dirt can be sourced from any number of places.
Oh, no.
Now, if this man needs to get dirt from far away and needs to truck it, well, you're shaking your head. I'm saying we have no point of reference. And I'm still going to vote no, because
Okay.
this is $375,000 is not a small amount of money, and that number could be 10% high, could be 20% high, could be 50% high. We don't know.
Mr. Cusick?
Could I ask a question about the electrical? Wind Gap Electrical seemingly has bid on every electrical project that I can remember in the recent past. Did we reach out to them and were they not able to do this?
Oh, no, we not just reached out to them, we reached out in, particularly to the electric, to Brendan Stanton Electric, Allegheny Electric, Cooper Electric, Ferry Electric, Kirby Electric, Lenny Electric, Shannon Smith and Yates Wind Gap as well. They're just busy. They're just busy and they were not interested and so that's where we are there. And those were independently reached out to.
Did you reach out to any electrical contractors that live in the Mincy Lake area, Mount Bethel, North Bangor, that area?
We reached out to the people,
Electrical contractors that are from that area.
we reached out to people who have done work with us or who have signed up on public purchase. And even to that extent, the size of it becomes really difficult at small, it's putting up a few lights, and that's why it's being coupled under the Schultz rather than being two separate contractors. Schultz is going to be putting up the bond, and we negotiated that with.
Evermore the reason why the RCO is extremely limiting to bids on small projects, because there aren't too many union contractors that want to do a $10,000 job.
It's, well, one,
Well, I
it's.
understand, there's
well,
a certain amount that RCO
But
goes down.
that's a misnomer or a circumstance that's not necessarily true. We have, the RCO has been out for over 3 years. There are a series of contractors who have signed up with ABC, and they will be covered under their apprenticeship program there. So all of those people do come into this opportunity, but they need to be signed up on public purchase to do that.
Which still a smaller portion than much larger net that we could be casting to get people interested to bidding our projects.
This is nothing different than what we've had in the past from other projects before the RCO was implemented.
Mr. Heckman?
Charles, I know in the past Albarell Electric has done a lot. They didn't reply, or do they get a notice of something like that?
Yes, they do. Everyone who is signed up who does work with the county.
Yeah.
Procurement has several different levels for which they do this. If you sign up on public purchase, you check off the different disciplines that you're interested in doing, the kind of work. You get a notification when something goes out. We also then send out specific notices to people who regularly do work with us or people who reach out and say that they'd be interested in doing work with us. So there are 3 different levels of these that go out from procurement.
I was just curious. Thank you.
Any other comments or discussion? Call for the vote, please.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky?
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic?
No.
Mr. Giovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Gofredo?
No.
Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Mr. Lott?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 7-2.
Mr. Gofredo, will you introduce the PennDOT?
Whereas Northampton County Administrative Code, Article 13, Procurement and Disposition. You want me to read the whole thing, or you want me to cut down to?
Just the whereas.
Okay.
On the back.
Whereas on January 24th, 2019, the Northampton County Council adopted Resolution 14-2019, endorsing a contract with Pennsylvania Department of Transportation for preliminary engineering for Bridge 15, Meadow Road, in the amount of $450,000, of which 80% was federally funded, $360,000, and 20% was county funded, $90,000, with construction anticipated to begin in 2024. Whereas on May 19th, 2022, the Northampton County Council adopted Resolution 65-2022, endorsing an amendment to the contract with PennDOT to increase total expenditure to $715,433.63, of which 80% is federally funded and 20% is county funded, to allow for the fast track of the demolition of the bridge while the engineering for the eventual replacement is ongoing due to the hazardous safety condition of the existing structure. And whereas on November 14th, 2022, the Northampton County Council received a request from the county executive for county council to adopt a resolution approving an amendment to the contract with PennDOT to increase total expenditures to $1,724,681.21, of which 80% is federally funded, $1.379744, and 20% is county funded, $344,936.24, to fund final engineering, right-of-way acquisition, and utility relocation work. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Northampton County Council does hereby concur with the recommendation of the county executive as set forth in the attached documentation to approve the contract amendment.
Thank you. Any discussion regarding this matter?
No.
Call for the vote.
Mr. Gofredo?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic?
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Mr. Lot?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky?
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. Is there any other new business to discuss? Hearing none, do we have any council committee reports?
We had an Energy, Environment, and Land Use Committee meeting today. We did not have the Penn Environment presentation. Flora Cordoni was still in Philadelphia and could not make it. We'll have to reschedule that again. We did have the presentation regarding farmland preservation from Maria Bensoni. Very impressive, the work that they're doing. They're at 18,829 acres preserved and 244 farms. They are clearing the list. They had 20 in 2022, and there are 31,291 remaining acres to be protected. So that's exciting, the work that they're doing. We also had a presentation by Michael Carr for the hydroelectric power plant that is subsequently going to go in Hugmore Park and generate 5,000 megawatts of energy. Very exciting. We talked about the benefits of it that are going to be on the D&L Trail, maintenance, and the maintenance of the actual dam, chain dam, and also the energy being sold to Lafayette, hopefully. That's it.
Thank you. Personnel and Finance Committees, met yesterday. The fruits of the labor were acted upon today. Governance meeting also was held earlier today to review the pay study and the Graysdale RFPs. And that's all I have.
Capital projects, yes, they had a meeting with Lehigh Valley Planning Commission. There were some questions and answers, and there's some questions that weren't answered about finance and money. And she's supposed to get back to us by Friday with that, and if she doesn't, well, we're going to ask her to come back anyway. That was part of the plan, because there's answers that we want questions for, and also about the split with Northampton County and Lehigh. She informed us that PennDOT calls the shots, but we still question the amount of money that was being spent. So they will be returning to answer all questions for council.
Okay. Any council liaison reports?
Just want to report that I attended the Pennsylvania Hemp Summit. Still a very important issue in our farming. And I just wanted to comment what Secretary of Agriculture Russell Redding said. He said, the long view is that it's changing hearts and minds about hemp. And he said, this can solve some of the most important issues of our time, environment, jobs, and agriculture. And he really sees this as a revival of our farms to be able to have a cash crop that can produce 80,000 different products with a supply chain that's worth billions of dollars. And I look at all the warehouses here and the farms here, and I think this could be amazing.
It could be a cloud, too.
You know what? Hemp is very different. And that's why we need to change hearts and minds, because there's still a stigma. And there's still a stigma attached to cannabis itself, not just as a plant as medicine, but as a plant used in adult recreational use or even any other way. It is the primary driver in the war on drugs that has led to the incarceration of thousands and thousands of black and brown individuals, 20,200 arrests in 2020. So I think that we have to change our way of thinking about not only this plant, but the future of agriculture, because the future in Pennsylvania is definitely green, one way or the other.
Can I ask a question? Tara, can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
Two. One is, actually, I have no problem with anything you said. I just wonder if he addressed all the vested interests that he said hemp will take the place of, and how hard they're going to probably fight or either co-opt to. I mean, I agree. Hemp was outlawed particularly because there were.
Reefer madness, it got caught up.
Well, not more than reefer madness. I mean, that was a cloud, no pun intended, used. But I mean, hemp paper all kinds of things. And if you're going to supplant them, they're going to be putting up a fight. But I hope hemp wins. And secondly, that sheet you were reading off of, that would put Andy Reid's sideline sheet to shame. I was just looking at that as you read his play sheet. My God. I just want to congratulate you on being able to decipher that. I saw you reading that, and I thought of Andy Reid.
I know
I'm
exactly what
sorry.
it says. Those are my notes, and that's, I enjoyed the hemp summit, and I think that it's a really important crop for our farmers, and I really believe that it's going to change a lot in agriculture. It's not only a phytoremediator, which will replenish the soil, but it's also one of the most potent carbon sequestration plants. This is what we need right now. It's amazing. It is an amazing plant, just saying.
I would just like to respond to the fact that I didn't realize so many people of color, Mr. Zawinski, knew got locked up, but that's something that's going on for decades, for not just blacks and whites and browns. Everybody got locked up for smoking weed. So it's just one of those things that just happens.
Teachable moment.
But it also is proven to be something very useful for folks with epilepsy, and I think it's a good thing that, I hope they manufacture it to the point and people stop putting up roadblocks, especially for the youth of America that are suffering with that.
Any other liaison reports? Council Clerk report?
Just a reminder, budget amendments are due tomorrow, and the budget amendment hearing is going to be on the 29th at 4:30.
Solicitor report? Motion to adjourn?
Before we adjourn, for all the folks in the house, go Rovers.
Who made the motion, Tom? Second?
Happy Thanksgiving.
Did I get a second? Thank you.
Don't be. Yeah. Make sure you eat the turkey and the turkey doesn't eat you.
I just want to make sure mine is hot this year. I don't think it.
Very succinct.